Okay, and we are live. I just want to quickly check. I always like to double check. Hi, everybody. I'm just double checking on YouTube to make sure that this is working because you just never know. Yep, it is working. Awesome. Okay, perfect. Let me get out of that. Okay, great. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Hi, Tina. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. So just so you know, Joy, I can see comments. So we're going to ask, because we're going to get to questions too as well if we have time at the end.
Sounds good.
Okay, so thanks everyone for joining. This video is a little bit different today. This is not food related, but I have a whole other passion on the side, and I've been working with Joy since 2015 was the first time I ever met you in Edmonton. So Joy lives in Edmonton, Joy Woodward from Joy of Numerology. We are talking all about numerology today. And I went to see her when I was starting my farmers market business when I was living in Edmonton, Alberta, because a friend had said to me, hey, before you pick your business name, make sure you get a numerology reading on it to see if the business will be successful. And I was like, this is a thing? Like, you can do that? I was so intrigued. So then I found you, and you were doing in person then at a bookstore.
Yeah.
So I came to see you, and ever since then I was hooked. And I've been going back to Joy for her services on and off now since 2015 every time. Like, even with this business, Crystal Dawn Culinary, she helped me with this name. She helped me with the name of this business in numerology. So yeah, it's just so interesting, and I find numerology so fascinating. It can give you a really good snapshot of why you are the way you are, and so it's fun to learn about yourself, right? So what we're going to do is we are going to go through, I have some questions for Joy, but we're also going to talk about December in numerology, and then also too what we can expect going into the new year for 2024. So this is going to be really interesting to hear because in numerology you can get a whole snapshot of the whole year ahead. It's really interesting. Okay, so first of all, I am just going to let Joy take the floor to introduce herself and give us a little bit of background about how she got into numerology, how long she's been doing it, how she became like the number one. You have like the number one best-selling numerology book, which is amazing. Yeah, so let's I'll pass the floor open to you, and you can give us that little intro.
Well, thank you, Crystal. That was already a pretty fabulous intro. My name is Joy, and I am a recovering corporate climber. I spent 2 decades in corporate, and the universe redirected me into numerology. So at one point, I just thought it was a hobby. I thought it was a party trick. I did not anticipate that this would become the career that it did. But that is the magic of following your numbers and getting in alignment and really just understanding how to work with the universal energies. And so Joy of Numerology was born. I was in an 8 year. There's no better time to start a business. And the rest is sort of behind me now. Since then I've written a book. It's been translated into 15 languages. It's done really well, better than I could have ever imagined. I'm going to start my second one this year because I'm in my 1 year for 2024. So that's a great time for beginnings. 2023, 9 year, don't start anything. But knowing that personal cycle can really just get you into the flow. You're not guessing anymore if you should or shouldn't, if it's the right time. You can actually look at your calendar or your numbers and make confident decisions.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And oh, holy moly, the very first like reading that I ever got from you, and you just give this whole snapshot of the year. You're like, this month do this month don't do this. And I remember early on when I was getting readings from you, you kept saying to me that you're going to do a book, you're going to do a book. And I was just pushing back. And I remember I kept saying to you, I don't want to write a book. I'm not doing a book. So I think this is wrong.
I did the same thing.
Yeah, yeah. And then look what happened. And now I have a book. So I mean, it's amazing what the numbers can tell you. So I'm going to go into the first question then. So, because I'm sure everyone would love to know this so that we can understand, like, what are the benefits of having a numerology reading and the positive impacts that it can have on your life?
Right. So it really depends where you're at, what you're dealing with, but numerology can apply to absolutely anything. I can I can tell you why it makes sense based on numbers for whatever it is you're dealing with. It can tell you compatibility. It can tell you what people's shadows are. So if you're having problems with a friend or your spouse, it can look at that and say, this is where you're finding conflict. Either you can use this energy and figure out how to overcome it, or you can call it because this isn't getting better. So you can use it for compatibility. You can use it to look for your special traits and characteristics. And I know you and I both share a 19-1 personality number. And this is the one that when I was told about it my very first reading, I just felt validated. I felt seen. This is a number that has trouble with authority figures, and it falls right into your and my career sector. Career sector. And
Right.
so when you have that, these people generally end up self-employed. If they're not self-employed, they definitely need to be the boss. They definitely need to be in charge. And, knowing you can look at your numbers and see what you're missing and know who you need to hire, know who you need to farm some stuff out to. There's certain numbers that like to control things. There's certain numbers that are hypochondriacs. So knowing that about yourself, you can reevaluate how you're looking at your own health and wellness.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. Exactly. And it just learning more about you also helps you navigate life better.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, self-awareness is so important because if you
Mhm.
don't have self-awareness, it's going to be really hard to develop emotional maturity. And without emotional maturity, it's really hard to relate to people and understand and make good decisions and have, mature reactions.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So everyone's listening. If if anyone here hasn't had a numerology reading, highly recommend it. As Joy just said, you're going to learn exactly so much self-awareness. It's going to help you navigate your life so much better. Okay, so then let's talk about, do you want to give a little bit of a background first before we get into like what number December is right now? Let's give a little bit of a background on numerology itself and how you come up with the numbers.
Okay. So
Short as
numerology,
you can.
sorry?
As short as you can. I know it's like you can
I
write a book about
mean,
it.
are we gonna be here till 4 o'clock today? Are we gonna be here till 30?
Yeah.
Okay, so numerology is a sacred science of numbers. It's where metaphysics and science sort of merge. And I know a lot of us have math trauma, and it's not that scary. I once was a very challenged math student myself. This is addition. If you can add 1 through 9, you can do this. Occasionally, you might get an 11 or a 22, but don't worry about that right now. You want to make sure you're using the proper formulas. This is, like I said, it's a sacred science. It goes back 2,500 years to 500 AD. Pythagoras, the same guy who brought us algebra and the triangles, he also brought us the musical spheres and the 8-octave scale. So very wise, accomplished mystic from before our time. But I don't know why you'd mess with something that's that old, right? And when I see sort of the TikTok numerology or an astrologist who decides to throw some in is my kryptonite. It is so difficult for me to watch these things because they're not respecting the formulas. So research who you're going to for your readings, research whose information you're listening to. a lot of them are not necessarily as well informed as they could be. So that's my little soapbox moment about that. But once you once you understand sort of that system of how it works, where I have found people really resonate with me is because I've been able to modernize it. I've been able to find how, in the 1800s, you wouldn't have said, oh, you're good at tech, right? No, that didn't exist. You might have, maybe you were an inventor or something, but that looks completely different as a job now as it did then too. It's like telling your parents you were going to be an app developer when you grew up if you were born in the 70s. Like that didn't exist. No one would have known what you were talking about. Even raw desserts, your career. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
right? So being able to relate it to the now is really important. But what it does is give you a timeline. It's all based on your birth date and your original birth certificate name. And so when you assign numbers to the letters, you get certain numbers of your core profile. Based on where they show up, it will tell you about the trajectory of your career, things that you're naturally gifted at, where you can really find your success. And it
Yeah.
also reveals all the shadows. So it tells you where your karma lies. It tells you where your personality might be a little scratchy, and then you can work on it.
Yeah, exactly. And like what I always find really interesting is the soul path and life path number that you come up for everybody. And so let's talk a little bit about that.
Sure. The life path number is one of the easiest to find. It's your entire date of birth added up. And so, what you want to do is take the month, the day, and the year, add those all separately until you reach a single digit. Then you add those three together. If you do it straight across, you miss master numbers, you miss karma. It's a real, I call it fast food numerology. It's not going to give you really good results. But that's how you find your life path number. And that is the number that really says this is your path, point A, point B, this is where you're going. Lots of different ways to get there, but that ultimately is going to really speak to your character and your destiny.
Yeah, and it's amazing when the very first time that I had a reading with you and we were talking about mine, I'm an 11 too, right? Well, I
Yes.
always remember that. And you're like, oh, Oprah and Obama and all these like Madonna, they're all 11s, and then
Well,
you're like, wow, that,
Well,
all these leaders
you're
and
such a good example of this because 11 twos a lot of times do something first. They are meant to pave the way. And if you think of an 11 as sort of a highway or a little road, it's like the doorway you can walk through. Um, Obama, first Black president. Uh, Miss
Mhm.
Obama, also an 11 too, first Black first lady. Oprah has an 11 soul number. She has done all sorts of firsts, and she really did them all with heart. And so that's where you see hers come in. Madonna, I mean, we're a little bit older than probably a lot of your audience, but
Yeah,
in the 80s, the cone bras, like my word, this was shock value. Like it was crazy, but she paved the way. And now I don't even know what Lady Gaga or Miley Cyrus would have to do to really shock us.
yeah,
So, but you are totally paving a new road for the raw food movement, for raw desserts. So you're really out there and you kind of are making it's sort of like you're defining the industry.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
impressive.
exactly. It's yeah, it's very, very interesting. Yeah, I'm always so very fascinated by it all. So speaking of that, then let's talk about December, the energy around the numbers in December, and then we can get into either you can talk about like January or like 2024 as a whole.
Yeah. So for 2023, we have been in a 7 collective or universal year. And I get that number by adding 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 3 equals 7. Then what we do is we take the month and add it to the universal year. So December right now is actually a 1 month. Okay. We're at an interesting little halo of the calendar in numerology. So November would have been a 9 month because everything works on that 1 through 9 cycle. December now is a 1 month. When the calendar turns over and we enter 2024, we're going to be in an 8 collective year. When we add January, it's going to be a 9. So November and January, there's actually an echo. And the same thing happens in December and February. So this year specifically, or anyone with a 9 attitude number, because they will run on the same drumbeat as the calendar, it's a little bit of emotional, energetic whiplash because you're going 9, endings, finishing things up, 1 month, beginning, I can start. And it's like, whoa, January, 9 months, endings, right? February 1. So you've got that real push pull happening, and
Mm,
it can be a little bit energetically difficult. But if everyone wants to find their attitude number, you add the month and day of your birth. Okay,
mm.
so
Let me write that
crystals,
in the comments.
crystals, December 25th. I'm adding December 3rd month plus the 25th is a 7. 3 plus 7 is 10. And that becomes a 1. Crystal has a 1 attitude number. And her birthday's coming up if anyone would like to send her a gift.
Yeah, I know. Okay, awesome. Yeah, thank you for that. I just put it in the I've really felt that push and pull. And I'm happy that December is a month for beginnings and starting things new. But what about like getting things done that you've already started or starting stuff completely new?
So that would sort of depend on where you are in your cycle. For myself right now, I'm in a 9 personal year. So December is a 3 month for me. And 3 is about expansion. It wants everything to get bigger. But a 9 year as my sort of energetic umbrella, you don't want to begin new things. Things that start under 9 energy don't tend to get roots. They don't tend to really grow or flourish. They require revision. So, under that, you want to think of how the 9 works with the 3. And that's where the real magic comes in when you can move forward. So I'm working on revising, refining. I treat 9 energy like a Mercury retrograde, and we're about to have a Mercury retrograde as well. So
Right. When does Mercury retrograde start again?
December 13th, and it
Mm.
goes direct New Year's Day.
Oh man. Wow, that's a long Mercury retrograde.
Oh, it's pretty
Is that
standard.
pretty standard? And
Yeah,
thank goodness I'm gonna be just taking most of that time off.
smart,
And
smart.
thank goodness that, wow, so okay, it starts on the 13th.
So we're in the retro shade right now, that shadow period.
Right. So
Yeah.
what about for people who have travel plans? I saw a post that you did about that, and it kind of freaked me out because I'm traveling soon here. On December 10th, I'm going away to a silent meditation retreat. But what if you already had that planned and then you're leaving before the 13th? Are you gonna be okay?
Yeah, so what you wanna do if you're ever, because I mean, let's be real, it's life. You can't constantly be accommodating every planetary alignment. You wouldn't
No.
really make a lot of progress. You have to learn how to work with them. So, it's Mercury retrograde, double, triple check travel plans, confirm your reservation. I had a friend who actually texted me yesterday. They're in Vegas and they're like, yeah, the hotel lost their reservation and blah. Like it was a whole thing. But even that shadow period can sometimes be very intense. So you just want to make sure you're confirming, double checking, get to the airport early if you're flying somewhere. All of those kinds of things is how you kind of can
Right.
ease your pain.
Just exactly, giving yourself time and, checking your plans.
Yeah.
I love
But
that.
I see people need to reframe their retrograde. It's not always negative. you need to think, if you work with the energy, it can be quite smooth. Anything you can put an RE in front of is going to be a supported activity. So
Mhm.
revise, revision, right? That's what you can be doing. And then get ready to move when you hit your 1 month.
I love that. Thank
Yeah,
you. So it's not all bad.
doesn't have
Good.
to.
We just gotta learn to work with it, and like you said, I like that you said that we can't, run our life around every planetary alignment. I know, because that is, like, way too stressful, and
But
I
being
mean
aware of it
yeah,
is super important. The same with numerology. And astrology and numerology really complement each other. They seldom, if ever, contradict. So it just gives you additional information to work with.
right. Okay, perfect. That's awesome. Okay, then let's talk about 2024, as a universal year.
Okay. So 2024, 8 year. And this is where there is a lot of misinformation. Eight energy is probably the single hardest number to understand. It has, if you look at the flow lines of the eight, it just goes round and round and round.
Mm,
And so people who have this in their chart, people associate the eight to money. And you can put a dollar sign right over it. And it absolutely deals with finances, but it doesn't automatically mean that's a win. You can be at the low point of your finances, you can be at the height. And in an 8 year or under eight energy, when you hit your 8 month, there's always an expense and it's a revolving door. So it's money in, money out, money in, money out. And Crystal, you're actually coming off of an 8 year. And
mm.
so you have probably had some big expenses this year, but you've also had money coming in.
Well, I made the least amount of money this year. This year has been like the hardest financially for me in business. So it's so funny. Like I didn't even realize that it was an 8 year. So it's so funny you say that it could go in and out and in and out. And that's why is because every time money would come in, it just is like right out the door, too expenses. You know what I mean? Like, oh, there we go. Yeah, exactly. Wow. So that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, I
So
love that.
with that, there, like I said, it's that revolving door of money. So in an 8 year, you don't necessarily want to be setting huge get ahead financial goals. This is more of a
Mm,
time to get your finances in order and really find structure so they can sustain. And eight energy overall, so for the whole collective, our universal year is about finding balance. You want to find balance between the spiritual and the material, between spending and saving, between relaxing and working. So, balance in all areas of your life. And that is truly where the eight can get magical. And
mhm.
so, I often use Martha Stewart as an example of eight energy. She, learned the hard way, had her insider trading. She could have changed her mind at any time and pled guilty, but she's like, no, I'm doing innocent. So you always have to remember under eight energy as well that you're allowed to change your mind. They get kind of stuck sometimes. And so with that, she went to jail. And total complete reversals are available under this energy at all times. So you can go bottom to top. And she got to jail. And then she taught all the inmates how to sew and bake cupcakes and start their own little side hustles. And so she really turned around that jail experience. Gets out, hangs out with Snoop Dogg, just took all these sexy photos in the pool at 83, I think she is. Like, talk about a turnaround. But that is the magic of the eight.
Yeah, wow, I love that. Okay, that's such good advice and such a good analogy.
She really encompasses all of the eight energy.
Yeah, now she's, like, back on top. Wow, that's amazing. Okay, I love that. So for, like, myself who just came out of an 8 year personally, and now I'm going into a universal 8 year, just be really mindful of like you said, finding the balance, and then it will be magical, which is funny because it's exactly what I'm working on right now, is finding that balance between work and life, and like why I'm taking a break here soon, and like, again, just balance and everything. So that's awesome advice.
Well, and what people don't realize, like the universe does not really negotiate. So if it wants it, it will force it. And if you find yourself really out of balance, the universe will find a hospital bed for you, or they will find a cast or something to slow you down. And I
Mhm.
see that happen all the time. It doesn't always appear as a medical issue, but it definitely can. But that is something that if you can find the balance, you can keep making progress moving forward. But if you get completely off, it will help
Mm.
you. It will help you slow down.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Yep, I've experienced that.
I remember I'm thinking back earlier this year, some of the stuff you've had go on.
Yeah, and even just recently, and I remember last year I was really stressed out. We had found out that we had to move, and I was just doing too many things at once. And then I fell down the stairs and split my head open, and I had to call 911, and it was like a whole thing. I've never in my life had to call 911, right? Like, or go in an ambulance. And so yeah, that slowed me down. I had a horrible concussion for a week and I couldn't do anything except lay in bed. So yeah, that forced me to slow down and get some rest for the week.
Yeah. And you said that was
Oh
in
my God.
summer. So thinking about it, probably looking
I
at,
know it was October. It was October of last year.
so that would have actually been an 8 month for you, because
Oh my
been
gosh.
you would have been in a personal year, and October's a 1 month. So that would have been an eight.
Oh my gosh. Wow, that's crazy. That's amazing that you can just come up with those numbers so fast.
I've been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying you can get over your math trauma. Don't worry about it. It doesn't
Yeah.
really apply here.
Yeah, I love that. And you explain it all so well in your book. And so if people here who don't know and who are just jumping on and just joining us, if you go, can you still get the book on Amazon? Yeah. Yeah. Perfect.
It's in Canada right now. It's sold out on Amazon, and I believe also in Australia, but it's available online from Indigo or Chapter,
Mm,
and definitely for the US, it's available on Amazon.
okay. Yeah, and we'll put the links once we're done here. I'll go back in the description and I'm going to put the links for all of your like your website and your book and everything so that everybody knows where to find you. So before we get into anything else, I just want to answer some questions here. So Tina, I think that when we were talking about when we were talking about personality number, Tina's asking, would I think this is her birthday, 3/2/70. So I'm assuming that's March 2nd, 1970. So she's asking, would that be a three number, or what number would that be?
Um, she has a 13/4 life path, a 5 attitude number, and so she'd be in a 3 personal year.
Oh, so she's right. So she's in a three personal year. Okay,
Yeah,
excellent.
so going into a 4 personal year.
Okay. And
So
what does that mean?
okay, so 3 personal year is, it's social, it's fun, it's all about expansion. Now on the flip side, it can also be highly, highly emotional. And when I talk about emotions under that energy, I mean all of the emotions. So you can be really frustrated, really, really angry, really sad, really happy, really excited. So it can be a bit of an emotional roller coaster. So you're going to learn about dealing with your emotions. A creative outlet is key. So if that energy can be channeled into creative energy, you will have much better control over your emotions. This is why I say if you're crying in the boss's office, get yourself a coloring book. You need to really get that creative energy flowing in the right direction. It can also come out as aggression. Okay, but 3
Mhm.
energy overall is lucky. And it's really good for self-promotion. So if she has her own business or anything under 3 energy, she probably saw her star rise a little bit. Um, it also, like I said, it's creative, which is super important. It looks like a pair of horseshoes. And so 3 energy is very lucky. Okay, so this is the VIP parking, the last one on the shelf. I wanted that. Now it's on sale. Okay. And under 3 energy, I often refer to it as your date with destiny. A lot of times you meet someone. So threes, when it shows up in your chart under a life path or a birthday number, these are the great connectors. They always have a referral. They always have a person. Crystal has a 3 destiny number. She is constantly talking me up. It's amazing. She's connecting me right now to all of you. So under your 3 energy, you want to make sure that the universe now is your connector. Pay attention to your invites. Pay attention to who you're meeting. You may not know it at the time, but down the road, you will have met someone under 3 energy that plays a role in sort of the trajectory your life takes.
Mm.
Okay, so that's 3. 4 energy is more structured. So if you think of the flow lines of a 3, it's all curvy, they flow. 4 energy is it can be a little bit uptight. With that, you want to make sure that you are not trying to control outcomes. If you focus too much on trying to control, it will blow up in your face. Okay. So you want to make sure that you're remaining flexible, that you're flowing, not forcing. Okay. And again, this is another place where I see the universe go, let me help you with that. Right. And something will happen that realigns you. So under 4 energy, you have to keep diligent. 4 does rule the healthcare system. It doesn't mean you're going to have a health problem. Reframe that into healing and helping. And so I see clients a lot of times who suddenly become the advocate for a parent or something within the healthcare industry. I see people who really decide this is the year they're going to heal a chronic illness. So make sure you're framing that energy and using intention behind it to support your goals.
Yeah, okay, I love that. So hopefully you got that all, Tina, for next year. There's your forecast for next year.
Just get a little mini reading. Did you want to
Yeah.
go through the other numbers so everybody can have a little idea, or
Yeah, well, so
you can answer for whatever you want. You're the host.
yeah, I'm gonna get through the questions here first.
That's my one energy. Like, look at we're both ones. I'm like, here, I have an agenda. Okay.
You're so funny. Yeah, no, I do want to talk about the rest of the numbers for sure. Um, we just have a question, and I know that we talked about this a little bit at the beginning, but how did you actually start your own numerology business?
This is pretty funny. I had a reading. I was still in corporate, and like I said, Crystal and I share that 19-1. But when that numerologist told me that I had trouble with authority figures, I felt so validated and seen. I thought she had like the most amazing crystal ball. And I asked her before I left if she could recommend any books. And she gave me, 2 or 3 books. I drove from her house to the bookstore and I bought these books and I just started devouring them. And I noticed right away there was a lot of contradiction between the books. And that still happens. So, like I said, research who you're getting your information from. But I went and got these books and I couldn't believe how accurate it was. I started doing all the numbers for everyone in my family, all my friends, husband, my dog. I was doing them for absolutely everyone. And it became a bit of an obsession. There's a number for that. I have it in my maturity number. And I couldn't stop. And so it became a party trick. And at one party, it was my friend's 40th birthday. There was all of a sudden I had a little lineup. I saw these people exchanging gifts and it was really thoughtful. And I thought, oh, she must be a 6. I need to know her birthday. And so I started talking to her and then someone else like, do me next, do me. And like I said, I had a little bit of a lineup, and my husband, wine and math is not always awesome. My husband's a human calculator, so I was just feeding him numbers and he was giving me, you know, the results. And then I would tell this person, and all of a sudden he just went, "You got to start charging for this shit."
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah. So what happened though, people started phoning me after this party. My friend was giving them my number and she goes, I told them this is what you charge. And I was like, what do you want me to tell them? She's like, well, you tell me like every day. I'm like, oh, okay. And so it was so organic how it happened. The
Mm,
universe seriously guided me. And then I ended up leaving corporate and I got a different look. So that was bad. I got fired. So it was not a good situation. Very relieved to be fired from that job. Left, did some readings for a little bit, got another corporate job, and the universe was like, I said no. So that was very toxic. And I left, and the universe just made sure I've always had clients. My
yeah,
life looks very different. I mean, obviously, a numerologist does not get paid in the same way that, a director of a large corporation does. But if you have the vision and if you are following your alignment, the universe will support you.
yeah, I
That was
love that.
yeah.
And now, I mean, you're doing amazing though. I mean, you're like the reason why I wanted to do this on YouTube and to my audience is because I was telling you I recommend you to everybody. Like, I'm
Your
like, you have
three
to get it.
your three destiny number.
Yeah, I was like, you have to see Joy. You have to go to Joy. You have to book a reading with Joy. I'm like, you will get so many answers. And yeah, so I thought that this was a really good way just to introduce you to my audience and be like, everyone just get a reading from Joy.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're most welcome. And it was just your birthday, right?
Yeah. Sagittarius, rare November Sagittarius.
Yeah, so happy birthday. And you were just running a huge promotion. So I know you were really busy with that.
I was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
And
have
making
another one happening now. So if anyone's interested, um, if you book a reading right now, I will send you your free um, personalized numerology calendar. And I
wow.
think you have had these before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so it breaks your numerology right down to the day. And so where that is just wild, and you could purchase them separately as well. It's almost like having a little GPS in your pocket.
Yeah.
And if you're self-employed, I find it's really important. So you don't have that same direction or agenda someone's pushing. You really set your own. So I tend to try and schedule podcast recordings or interviews on 3 and 5 days because those are best for communication and storytelling.
Mm.
If I have a customer service issue, I'll call on an 8 day. You can tend to get things reversed. If I have to get really organized, and it's amazing how the energy you'll just be like, oh, that's why I wanted to vacuum. On a 4 day, all of a sudden you're really getting organized. And that has a lot of that sort of Virgo vibes. And so you can use the days of your calendar to really, plan out your schedule. And it's that is the way to step into the flow without question. It's so gives you that roadmap where you're supposed to be when, what energy is available to you that day.
Yeah, I love that. And I bet you there's a lot of people on here that like had no idea that you could plan your days around that where it would actually flow better based on the numbers. So, I have another question. So someone is asking, have you ever used a calculator software for your clients and what is the approach?
I do not. I've never used that, and I know there's a lot of online calculators. I've tested many of them. 90% of them are not accurate.
Mm,
So there's a lot of nuances in numerology. And even in AI, I asked ChatGPT what my life path number was, and it totally got it wrong, like not even close. So
Wow.
I'm sure there is a day where ChatGPT will get much better at numerology, but it is not here yet, right? So online calculators, like I said, there may be some that are getting better or are more accurate, but when I've tested them, I have not found one that I can rely on. But I also feel the numbers when I write
Mhm.
them. I wrote about this in my book. Intuitively, as soon as someone gives me their numbers and I write down their birthday, things start to flow in. And as I add them, that's where I start getting messages for the person and where I find the focus in their reading. And so when a lot of times people refer to me as an intuitive numerologist, and there there is a magic in being able to blend all of those
Mhm.
things. And so it's amazing, but there's actually the numbers can tell you where your intuition lies.
Oh,
So that's really interesting. So twos, or 11 twos, like Crystal, they have that doorway to the other side. They make excellent mediums. Teresa Caputo, Long Island medium, she has 3 11 twos in her chart. And
wow.
then Abraham Hicks, if people are familiar with her, she has 3 5s, and 5 is the number of the channeler, right?
Wow.
Sixes tend to have a sixth sense. Sevens get their intuition from nature. Nines get their intuition from all of their past lives. They just know things they have no business knowing about, and they're accessing subconscious past life memories. So every number has some intuition. Certain placements are much stronger than others, but you can look at your chart if you're wanting to develop that and know sort of where your focus could be.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I've really been trying to hone in on my intuition the past couple of years. Well, I was telling you about my all of the research and education I was doing based on that because I have psychic dreams, but that's as far as I can take it. But very specific psychic dreams. So I actually started a dream journal. I read a whole book about dreams. It was amazing about like astral traveling, and so I actually started a dream journal. So it's the very first thing I do now. When I wake up, I write down all of my dreams in as much detail as I can. I'm still like half asleep. So it looks like chicken scratch because it's like, you know what I mean? You're still like so
As long as
tired.
it's enough to trigger the memory, you're good.
Yeah.
And
And it helps me remember. It makes me remember too, writing it down.
and a lot of people will say to me, I don't remember my dreams. And you can actually, if you set the intention before you fall asleep and ask your dream
Mhm.
angels and guides to assist you in remembering what you need to. And that actually can be a profound difference in what you can recall.
Yeah, and you can even ask your guides for messages in your dreams, and you can even like write it on a little piece of paper, what you want your guides to show you, what you needed help with, and what you need an answer on, and then you can put it under your pillow and meditate on it before you go to sleep. Yeah, there's so many wonderful tricks you can do for that.
Yeah, and there's a number for astral traveling. There's a number that has really prophetic dreams. Like it's really fascinating.
Hmm. So interesting. Great. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for your insight on that. So June is just asking, what is the interplay between a personal year and the universal year? So that's a good question.
That is a great question. So with that, the energy for the collective is the one that you really see play out in the news, in the big themes. And then anybody who has a 9 attitude number is going to be on that collective energy. But when you're moving as a collective, so corporations, schools, things of that nature, large organizations, banks, government, they all fall under that collective, and those things all funnel down to us. So we will feel that collective energy on a certain level. When you're dealing with your personal energy, this is the one that is going to impact you the most. So regardless of what the collective year is, if you're in an 11-2 year, it's going to be about relationships, and they're either coming together or they're going apart. And a lot of times people can lose a loved one. Sometimes they get married. Sometimes they have a baby. Sometimes they get engaged. So, but it deals with all of your relationships. And that would happen to you personally, no matter what the collective energy was.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, thank you so much for explaining that. So I'm not sure. I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, but you'll probably know what this word is because someone is asking, would you dive a bit into Chaldean numerology?
Oh,
Chaldean.
yeah, that one works on a completely different alphabet. And so I've studied it a little bit, but when I say study it, like I've read some books, I don't practice it. I haven't had a reading. I find based on our sort of Western world where I'm situated, that this Pythagorean numerology is by far the most accurate. How can we practice that numerology here when our alphabet has different letters
Mm,
and names have different letters?
yeah.
So, and you can apply the numbers to any alphabet. I had a client from, I want to say it was Czechoslovakia or Poland the other day, and she had her birth certificate name in Polish, and then she sent me the Polish alphabet, and I applied it the same, and we did it, and it was actually pretty interesting. So I always am trying to better myself and learn and add, but yeah, the those two other types of numerology don't tend to be as accurate for our climate
Right.
location.
Yeah, and the time that makes total sense to me. It's yeah, using the numerology for our time in the Western world where we are today. Yeah, makes way more sense. Yes, thank you so much. Okay, let's see what other questions we have. Okay, I'm not sure what this means. So June is just asking, what is the difference between a personal year 4 and 22-4? So I don't know if she's meaning like her, like, do you know what she means by that?
Yep, I do. So 22-4 is a master number. Now, to get to a 22-4 master number, it a lot of times this is where the calculation will be messed up, but you can have a 22-4 master number year. It's definitely more common to have an 11-2 personal year. And occasionally, if you had a 22-4 attitude or an 11 attitude, you would have a 33-6 personal year. So these are all master numbers. And people hear master number and you can actually watch their ego inflate a little bit. But they are blessings and burdens. And living at that higher vibration of the master numbers is very difficult. And so people will slip in and out. It's very hard for someone to maintain the height of that master number. And they are, I mean, some of the world's, we talked about some of the famous 11s, some of the world's most notorious dictators also fall under that energy. So it's not always love and light. There are deep selfish shadows to some of those numbers. But in a 4 year, it's going to be about foundation. It's going to be very practical. Okay. 22-4 energy tends to be more visionary. It's really that dream bigger, build it and they will come. It's on such a massive scale. And things that happen under those are more, under 22-4 energy would be more legacy related. That would probably be impacting the collective, not just your personal. So what you're doing would be making a difference for humanitarian, like for the whole
Mhm.
collective. Yeah. Does that answer a question?
Yeah, June, let us know if that answers your question. No, thank you. There is a little bit of a delay, so I'll keep going and see if she responds. So Tina's just asking if we can provide the name of your book, and I'll put the link in there below. But do you want to say the title?
Yeah, it's a beginner's guide to numerology, and it really will give you the proper formulas so you can figure out anyone's chart in your life.
Mm,
So it's a
no.
I how my book sort of how yeah, I was born. Clients would ask me all the time, like, what book do you recommend? And I was like, well, this one, except that part's wrong. And this one, except they really didn't get this right. And I had a client say to me, if you can't recommend a book, you're going to have to write a book. And I
Yeah.
was like, ooh, like felt that. And so I decided my 5 year, J.K. Rowling's is a 5. It's sort of the natural storyteller. 5s are very expressive. I decided, okay, I'm going to write my book. I'm going into my 5 year. Good year to write my book. And so, my 6 month, I educated myself on the publishing. My 7 month, I really became the expert and, got serious about an outline and things. My 8 month, I bought myself a new desk. And then my 9 month, I kind of just collected everything, got organized, and, didn't begin because 9 month. But
Yeah.
my 1 month, and it was the Gemini new moon, I decided, okay, it's go time. And I downloaded Scrivener, which is the nonfiction writing software of choice.
Hmm.
And the very next day after this new moon, and I still have the email, I got an email from the acquisition director at my publishing company that they were looking for numerologists to write a book for them. Like, it was so magical, right?
Yeah.
And so then my 2 month, I signed my contract with them because, there's a whole process to get there, the writing samples, the meet the editor, all that. 3 month, creative, rules communication, rules writing. I wrote my book. 4 month, continued writing. That's like where you're diligent, kind of, don't mess around, get stuff done. So my 4 month is where I wrote my book. 5 month, rules changes. That's where I did all my editing. That's where going back and forth with all of that. 6 month, marketing stepped in. They did the cover design, all the interior artwork. They made it pretty. 6 rules beauty. 7, it was out of my hands. It was done, but that's the month of self-care. So exhale, just took it easy, got back into my regular reading routine.
Nice.
And then in December, and I swear, if it wasn't me personally, if I didn't know this had happened to me, I would think that I was making it up. In my 8 month, which has rewards, there's always that, coming in, going out. On the 12/12/12 full moon of 2019, okay, so December 12th, 2019, my author copies were delivered to the house.
Wow.
And that was
Crazy.
the Gemini full moon. So that's also something when you blend the moon cycles in with the numerology where it can get a little like, whoa. So yeah, it was absolutely crazy. And then I was trying to have a moment with the guy at the door like they do in the movies when their books get delivered. These are my author copies.
Yeah, yeah,
And he was like, sign here. He
yeah.
was,
Doesn't care.
he,
Mine was just like my box was just dropped off in
you
the
know,
door.
you're like,
Yeah, actually, you know what? Today, December 6th, this is my 1 year anniversary of when my book was available, when it
oh,
was released. Today is the actual release day of my book 1 year ago today.
wow, congratulations. Okay,
Thank
so December, sorry, so last year you said, so that would have been a 7 year plus December, it would have been a 1 month. The 10th, it would have been an 11/2 day for you.
Wow, crazy.
Yeah.
It's amazing how these numbers just, yeah,
Yeah,
they're so accurate.
it is. If you retrospectively go back on your life, you'll be like, oh my gosh, I had a baby. That was a 6 year. Yeah, it looks like a little pregnant person, right?
Mhm.
I got married. Yeah, it was a 2 year, right? So, I mean, there's always someone else's numbers involved when it's things like weddings and babies and things, but
Mhm.
it's amazing how they flow, how they complement each other.
Mhm. Wow, I love that. Okay, so someone is asking from all of the books you okay, well, I think that you already answered this, but she's asking from all of the books you absorbed, would you recommend any specific one? As you mentioned, they're all very contradictory, so I'm curious to know your opinion on books, but I think you
So,
basically answered.
so I did end up writing my own, and I can tell you it's accurate, but I had to fight for it. I remember at one point my editor just like, there's crying when you write a book. I'll just say that it is intense. And they, came back from the developmental editor, and I was like, what? This is wrong. Like, you changed my formulas. And actually, in the very first printing, there was a mistake in that book, and I had to fight to get it changed. And so I think it's on printing 12 or something now. So you don't have to worry. You'll never get one of those books. But I remember at one point she said to me, numerology is hard. And I was right? When you have a non-numerologist editing your book, it is hard. There's a couple numerologists I really respect. DeCause is one of them. His book is quite, I think it's from the 80s. Hans,
Dakar, how do you spell that? And I'll write it in the chat.
Hans, Hans, DeCause, Decoz. And he's respectable. Anything you can get your hands on that is really, really old. So I have a library of well over 60 numerology books. The best ones are pre-19, I'd say anywhere from 1950 to 1980.
Wow.
Once the internet came out in the 90s, if you're looking for a recent book, so many of them are written by copywriters. So many of them are written by metaphysical experts. There's no way you can write a accurate numerology book if you have not been studying it for many, many years. It's not possible, because I'm still learning things. Things are still, the formulas stay the same, but you learn how to adapt them to the modern world and things.
Mm-hmm.
It is absolutely wild.
Yeah. And I love that how you said people call you an intuitive numerologist. And it's because it's why I keep going back to you, because it's always what I feel from you. I really always feel that intuitive energy in the readings. And you bring that extra element, because you not only like tell you how it is, but then you give solutions, which is like everybody wants a solution. It's like, okay, I don't care if it's an 8-year and like money goes in and out. Like, how do I work with that? For
Yeah.
you to give solutions, I mean, that's like what everybody needs.
Thank you so much for that. I always will give you a tool. If I tell you something that is not beautiful, I will tell you what you can do to make it better. I will give you a tool in how you can work on it to improve. And this is where I work with clients on a real ongoing basis, because it's effective. But I don't believe in giving you negative information with nothing you can do about it. So I'll always give you a tool.
It's amazing. Thank you for doing that. And so June, when we were asking about the 4 and the 22/4, she said, thank you. So that answered her question. And then when we were asking about the other kind of numerology, because I don't know how to pronounce her name, it's on YouTube, it's Bezzy. She says, yeah, exactly my thoughts. I use Pythagorean because that's of that exact same reason, because it's the alphabet everyone uses basically. It has the modern energy contained in it per se. Yeah. So good. So thank you for that, Bezzy.
Yeah, as long as you're using a 26-letter alphabet, the Pythagorean is the way to go, without question. And my book's been translated into over 15 languages, and they take the letters of the English 26-letter alphabet in that language and apply it the same way. And it's hard for me to, I'm like, eek, it's been translated. Did they get it right? I'll never know. But apparently they do, because it's still selling. So it has to still be accurate.
Thank God. Yeah, because geez, how would you even know? That would be, oh my gosh, that would have me
You can
totally.
tell by the letters I get, like the emails, because people will email me, and
Oh, nice.
and then I'll so I can tell if it's accurate or not. And I haven't had a problem with the translation yet. So
Oh, good. Oh, good. Thank goodness. So someone says Hans Decos, who you just recommend, or Decos. Sorry, is that how you say it? Decos?
yeah,
Hans.
yeah, he's Dutch.
He has a software apparently.
Yes.
And he-
So You can buy those reports on many things. If you were going to do a software, I would say that was the better one. I I don't see any magic in having a computer give me a reading.
No, but like we were just talking about with the personal connection and your intuition, like you don't get that experience.
Yeah. So he's good. Juno Jordan, she's been passed for quite a while, but she's very good. Her mother is one of the um, real pioneers of numerology. And then her father got into it. It's so she has some good lineage, and she founded the California Institute of Numerology at one point. They disbanded when they thought they had learned everything. Her stuff is, I probably agree with about 90, 95% of it. Some of it doesn't quite make it into that modern conversion. But if you want to be a numerologist, you really need to find yourself a mentor. You need to be willing to read and invest in a lot of materials. There, the courses being offered, they're kind of like the books, right? You can agree with a lot of it, but they're not going to be 100%. So lots and lots of trial, lots of doing your friends' numbers, your family's numbers, people who you know, so you can really. In the beginning, I kept a spreadsheet, and when I came across something that I thought, I think this is a thing. I think fives are really good with technology. I think they always need the latest, greatest iPhone upgrade, whatever. Certain numbers do, some don't care, right? So, then that's a finding. So I would mark every time I found someone who exhibited that characteristic. And when I had clients, I'd be able to ask them. I'd say, "How do you feel about upgrading your technology?" Right? Or I'd notice that they had the best of whatever. And so that was always interesting. But when you have that spreadsheet and you mark little things you're noticing, that's when you build your own, and that's where you're really working with your intuition. And then you've got to go back and fact check it. You don't get to just see it in three people and decide it's a thing. It's not enough. It needs
Mhm.
more research.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. That was some really good advice. People will definitely really appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. So let's recap for just one more question. So Bezzy's a five life path and expression, and she's the opposite to that. She never cares about phones or new tech. She says, well, that's funny.
Okay. So where she'd have to look at in her chart for other repeating numbers. And if she has a four or something, fours are really practical. If their old phone
Mhm.
works, then that's what they're going to go with. So you also have to be able to read the combinations in a chart. And so it's extremely dangerous to just put out, do you know what I mean, a comment and say, this is you. Right. When I speak about upgrades and phones and stuff, it's very general, but you have to look at the whole chart. If a number repeats more than twice, it changes the meaning.
Right. Yeah, I like that. That makes sense. Okay, perfect. So let's recap for 2024 universal year. I already forgot what you said the number was. We've been talking about so many numbers. Did you say it was a 4?
It's an
No.
8 year,
Oh,
8
8
year
year.
for 2024. Yes.
Right year. So 8 year. So 2024 is the 8 year. So it's all about finding balance. Do you want to just
Balance, authority figures are key, and that is good and bad. You're going to get both sides of that one. And so authority figures can definitely be people, at your job, at the office. It also can be parents. Some people's authority figure is their spouse. That can be a bit of a theme. In our last 8 years going back, I've seen things, lots of corporate mergers, big corporate mergers. There's probably going to be some kind of change to the whole currency system. Like when, every country adapted to debit cards and things differently. But when that technology came in, you can go back and look, and a lot of that happened. Like some of the bigger countries, when they adopted that debit system, that was under 8 energy. Interest rates, things of that nature that that impact everyone. Those are going to be themes that develop. And you're going to see some real hypocrisy. You're going to see people saying things and doing other things. And so that'll play out on the political
Mm.
stage. But karma also finds balance under 8 energy. So if you're a good person, good things will happen. If you're
Right.
shady, buckle up.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That was a wonderful forecast for 2024. And a lot of people have been talking about not just like in numerology, but about 2024 there being a big change in currency. So we'll see. Yeah, I'm so curious to see what happens with that. Yeah, we will see.
Whether it shows up as a change or a theme or people are talking about it, but
Yeah.
something will occur there.
Yeah, super interesting. Well, this was such a fun conversation. I really, really appreciate you coming on and taking the time to do this with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
thank you to everybody who joined. Thanks for joining us live, even though this is still going to go up on YouTube.
If if they want a universal energy, this is my moon calendar I put out every year. So it will tell you what the universal months are, when all the new moons, when all the full moons. So you can download this at my website.
Okay, perfect. And yeah, so let's go through that. Let's go through where people can find you, just a little synopsis of what you offer and what
Mm.
else they can find on your website.
Okay. Everything is under joyofnumerology.com. There is always the fake account, so watch out for those. Um, but with the joyofnumerology.com, any commerce I ever do will be through that site. So don't Facebook anyone money. Sorry.
Yeah, as
Okay.
it happens, I know it
You
happens.
have it too. Anyone who has, more than 1,000 followers has probably dealt with it.
Yeah.
So you can sign up for my newsletter. You'll get a free download of the moon calendar. I also have annual calendars, and those are the ones that give you your personal year. Got my book on Amazon. I actually emailed Simon and Schuster this morning to say, hey, why is it out of stock in Australia and Canada? So hopefully they get it back. But it is available online with chapters Indigo in Canada. And what was the other question? Oh, I have
Oh,
readings. So
yeah, what kind of readings do you offer?
yeah, so anyone who's looking for reading, I do fertility and IVF dating, I do baby names, I do special date selection, and then I do basic numerology blueprint, which is if you're just kind of getting into numerology, that's where it will tell you about your personality and everything. And if we have time, I'll talk about compatibility with people that you're interested in. Um, I have separate love math compatibility readings. And I also have an annual planning session, and that one goes through your timeline and what month you want to do what and when to do it. And that's
Mm.
also included with the numerology blueprint. So lots of
Okay.
options. And like I said, if they book before, I think it's December 16th, this Saturday, if you book by Saturday, I'll send you your free personal calendar for 2024.
Okay, perfect. And so now is a good time to get that blueprint and get your year ahead because we're going into a brand new year. So what a perfect time to book a reading.
I can't imagine floating through life blind without this information.
Yeah, exactly. So
I
I
would
hope.
probably spend all sorts of money starting things this year that would fall flat.
Mhm.
Just
Yeah.
you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Joy. I really appreciate it. And thank you again for everybody. If anyone has any questions, they can reach out to Joy. And this,
Well,
thank you. And this video is going to be going up on YouTube so you can watch the replay. And yeah, thank you so much, Joy. I really always appreciate chatting with you. So I'm going to end the stream, and but I need you to stay in the room so that the recording can also download on your end so that you have the video as well. So I'll
Okay.
talk to you about that. So we'll just goodbye, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.